Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, welcome back. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, and Happy New Year. Our first week of the new year. Definitely a good year to be here. We have so much going on. And if you're joining us on the replay, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. And please include in comments the word replay, so I'll definitely catch your view because I never don't want to miss you. And if you're joining us live, well, hello and welcome to the show. This week has been an important one. So let's talk about how the markets closed today. The Dow closed up by 167 points. NASDAQ joined up 120 points and the S&P 500 up 26 points as well. And what do you need to know about today's financial political news and why are both so incredibly important? As we know, today is the day of the Georgia Senate race, right? All eyes are going on what's happening there in the state of Georgia, but also importantly, this is important because this could also determine the fate of the $2,000 stimulus checks and whether or not that'll come into fruition as Americans continue to struggle during COVID-19, during the pandemic right now. And Tuesday also marks the day when, voters get to make their voice clear of how they feel between these two Senate seats, because with that, the outcome of this race will now determine which party reigns and controls the Senate. So this could have big changes. And so we're really hoping, again, that those $2,000 stimulus checks do come into fruition. So let's hope that we have some positive news on that front later today, whichever way you decide to vote, for those of you who are watching. Now, interesting enough, did you know that 75% of voters actually indicated that they believe that the $600 stimulus checks were actually quite very much so too little? And so I think you would agree. I definitely agree. And we're really hoping that there is more aid coming to Americans who continue to need help sooner rather than later, as you know. In fact, today, Kevin O'Leary actually criticized the stimulus. He said that unemployed Americans, he believes, should be getting $2,000 per month for 12 months. And I agree with that. I definitely think that Americans who are unemployed, unable to get back to work because of the pandemic, should actually receive some sort of monthly stipend to get them through these days. But of course, I'm not the one that gets to make these decisions. So let's start with the show, because today we're in for such a great treat. Today we're discussing 2021 money tips with friend and industry colleague, the one and only Chris Browning, host of Popcorn Finance. Chris, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to speak with you.
Well, I'm excited to speak with you. And selfishly, I wish that we were in person. It's been a long time since we got to spend some quality time together, but it is such a treat to have you here. You're host of the award-winning short-form podcast, Popcorn Finance, which, by the way, is awesome. You can call in and get money advice on this show called This Is Awkward. Tell me about, why did you come up with this title?
Oh, for This Is Awkward, we came up with that because so many of us deal with these really weird and uncomfortable and awkward money situations. And so we knew we wanted to help people through them, and we know we wanted to make it fun. And so for us, it just kind of came naturally as we're like, okay, we're going to be talking about these weird, awkward money situations. And the first thing that just came out of our mouths was, this is awkward. And so that's where we came up with the name for that show.
I feel like, Chris, you're really good at naming things, because actually I would love for you to share with our audience today why it's called Popcorn Finance too, because I love the backstory to this, if you don't mind sharing.
Oh, yeah. So when I created this podcast a little over 3 years ago, I knew I wanted to be a short form show because there wasn't really anything like it at the time. And my attention span is not the best. So for me, I was always looking for something short that I could easily digest in little bite-sized chunks. And so when I knew it was going to be short, I was like, what can I use to tie this together? What can I be my theme? And I don't know if I was making popcorn that week or what it was, but I was like, oh, the microwave is like a built-in timer and it's so quick to make popcorn. So for me, it was like, okay, Popcorn Finance. Popcorn will be my limit. And about the time it takes to make popcorn, we're going to go through some issues and some finance topics to help you get a little bit better at handling your money.
Now, Chris, in earlier shows, did you actually make popcorn while you were doing the show?
I did a couple of times, but then I realized no one wants to hear me chew while I'm talking, so I had to cut that part out.
And then let me ask you this, how much popcorn do you consume at your house?
Oh, a good amount. My wife actually got me a popcorn maker, like an air popper. So I actually have this big bowl. I sit it on the counter, I just fill it up, and I go sit down and watch a movie or something and eat as much as I can before I get tired of it.
I love it. It's beautiful. Not only that, I gotta say, it's pretty cool because you actually have your own emoji, which we discovered when we were titling this show together. So that was really fun. Um, so Chris, how are you doing? I mean, I think this is something we always talk about, like during this pandemic. That's sort of the initial. I haven't seen you in a long time. Haven't seen you in person a long time. I love to hear. How are you doing during this pandemic?
I'm doing well. A lot of staying at home, a lot of trying to connect with friends over video chat and things like that. We've unfortunately had a few family members who have contracted coronavirus, and they're pulling through. They're doing well. There's a little scary moments there, but we feel very fortunate to still be healthy and have our family with us still.
I love it. Has it been a big transition for you? I mean, or were you always sort of working from home?
No, actually, I still work full time, and I'm normally going into the office, and so I transitioned for the past, I don't even know, 9 months now to working from home. But actually, it works great for me because I'm a ultra homebody. Like I love being at home. I love just sitting around taking it easy. So I feel like I've been training my whole life for being at home.
That's awesome. Well, I need to learn this skill from you, Chris, because I can't wait to go back to the office. I love this. All right. So, Chris, I'm really curious that what has this pandemic taught you or shown you? Because, those of us in the financial industry, obviously, we've seen a lot. We watch a lot. We talk to our clients and we talk to our viewers and listeners and whatnot. But was there anything that really stuck out with you, that's something that you didn't expect, but you've learned through this process?
Oh, yeah. I'd say the biggest thing that I learned through this is that even those who, by all standards, are very prepared for a financial emergency can't really plan for every situation. And I don't think there's anyone who expected there to be a situation where large parts of the country just shut down for months upon months. And I think it gave me a better appreciation for the fact that we're all in different spots, we're all in different positions, we all have different struggles. And even if you do plan as best you can, there's some things that just happen that are out of your control. And to be more mindful of that and to give more grace and understanding to people, because we're all in different financial situations. And sometimes you try your best and things don't work out.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that's sort of a big lesson for 2020, especially. And even now, it's like, you're seeing a lot more people are getting tired. This has been going on for a very long time. So the financial anxiety and stress is getting to a lot of people. And I've actually been talking to a lot of people who are out there sharing financial content like yourself and other experts, reporters, even, from large publications saying that this is a really hard time. People are very sensitive, and I can't even talk about this or this without getting attacked. Have you experienced that, Chris?
I haven't run into any issues where people were maybe offended or felt attacked by some of the content I was putting out there. But I know one of the things that I've always tried to do with my show with Popcorn Finance is to be very mindful and understanding of where people are and come from a place of no judgment and say, hey, if you don't know this, it's no big deal. That's why we're here. We're here to learn this together. And I think if you try your best to come from that position of understanding, it helps. But sometimes it's hard to control how people feel or take your message. And we just try our best to be as understanding and put it out there as best and as most helpful as we can.
Agree. I can't agree with you more. I think it's so important. Like you said, everybody's in a different situation. And if we recognize that everybody has their own struggles, we just don't know what they are, then I think we can come from a better place and have a higher likelihood of not offending someone. So one thing that I think many people will find offensive is these things called those credit card offers. And we talked about this before, but I love to get your thought on this. Even now, especially during the pandemic, we're getting a lot of credit card offers in the mail. They're showing up in our email box. And, Chris, I know you've discussed this, but I'd love for you to share with our viewers on a way that they can stop these offers from showing up. Right? Because some of us could be wanting to get a new credit card, but others of us don't. What's your thought on this?
Yeah, I think especially going into a new year, one of the resolutions that a lot of people have right now is to get out of debt, or at the very least, just get better at handling their finances. And I think sometimes credit cards can be a pretty tempting and dangerous tool if used improperly. And so for me, I know I used to get so many credit card offers in the mail. It felt like the only thing I would get some days was just a stack of credit card offers. And then I have to go through the trouble of shredding them and making sure that, I don't, they don't go in the wrong hands. It's all these issues that I had with receiving these offers. And it was, I think, roughly about 2 years ago when I heard about optoutprescreen.com, which is a site that's authorized by the major credit bureaus. It was created back as a result of the Fair Credit Reporting Act in 1970. And part of it was to regulate the collection of our credit information and who has access to our reports. But a nice side benefit of that is you have the ability to opt out of pre-screened credit card offers that you would get in the mail. And so the great thing is through the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you're now allowed to go in and opt out of receiving these pre-screened offers in the mail. The thing is, it doesn't stop all offers, because sometimes you may have a relationship with a bank and they still want to send something out to you, but it has drastically decreased the amount of credit card offers that I get in the mail to maybe one a month, if that. And the way this works is, the way these banks and credit card companies get your information in order to send you these offers is that there is a list that these companies sometimes send out to the credit bureaus, and they ask for people who meet certain criteria. Other times, the credit bureau will say, hey, we have this offer that we would like to send out. Who qualifies, who meets our standards to get this offer? And then they'll be sending a list of people, and then that's how they end up sending you these offers. So you can opt out, and there's two levels, I guess two types of opting out that you can do. There is a 5-year opt-out, and this can be done just completely through optoutprescreen.com, and it will remove you from these lists that are sent out to these companies in order for them to send you these offers for a period of 5 years. And then after that 5 years is up, you end up being put back on the list. There's also a permanent option, and for this one, it works very similarly. The only difference is you have to actually print out and sign a form that they give to you, and you send that in. The good thing is that you still do the original form that you would do to opt out for 5 years. So even when you fill out that form, if you just completely forget to mail in the paperwork, you're still opted out for 5 years. But the moment they get your signed document, then you actually are opted out permanently from this list. And it's such a relief not seeing those offers in the mail. And it also can be a way to eliminate the temptation of maybe signing up for some more credit cards, because some of those offers are very, very tempting.
They're very tempting, right, Chris? Like they always say 100,000 points or miles or whatever, how many round trip tickets to this and this and this. And Get It Hair, I gotta say, who's joining us on Periscope, is being so helpful. She actually, I guess she has experiences, and she's even shared a phone number for those of you who want to go and call them, because she said you could do that as well. So nice. Thank you so much, Get It Hair, and thank you so much, Chris, for sharing that information. Let me ask you this, Chris, I'm just curious. Many of us in the financial industry, are also big in terms of knowing credit card knowledge. Would you consider yourself a points and miles person?
Yeah, I actually had gotten into it during 2019, which I'm fortunate that I actually got to travel before I couldn't travel anymore. But yeah, I actually had gotten really into doing the gathering the points and taking trips for really reduced rates.
Right. I feel like it's sort of like a financial person's hobby, is to get miles, because a lot of our community, right, and FinCon, and we sort of CardCon, we're sort of dabble in both communities.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think last time we actually saw each other was in FinCon, or was it? No, wait, actually, no, it was in our office, right?
It was for the event you had in Irvine, right?
Yeah, that's right. Those are good times. I wish I spent more time with you, because I remember I was like, but this is perfect. Now we can actually see each other. It's not that far away. And geographically, we're not that far away. So
no, not at all. Not at all.
This is awesome. Okay, well, I love that you shared that. I think that's a really powerful tip. I'm sure many of you can feel that way too, because if you don't get those offers, you don't get that temptation. And that's probably a good thing, because like Chris knows, and I know that, and if you really want a credit card, there's also some great resources to go out there and seek out one that meets your need, right? You can be proactive in that direction. Don't worry. If you want a credit card, you can definitely easily find one on Google. Let's talk about this. Opening a checking account just for paying your bills. Talk to me about this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I have to give credit to Cyrenese Pierce. She runs a site called Poise Finance Lifestyle. She was the first one who kind of opened my mind to this way of structuring my bank accounts. Because for me, I've been someone, I try my best to stay as organized with my budget and know where my money's going. But even for me, sometimes I get overwhelmed by transactions coming in and out, and the timing delay between when a company will actually charge you versus when you think the money should be coming out of your account. And so she has this method, it's called the high five banking method, where she structures these 5 bank accounts in order to keep things separate. And the one thing I loved about this was that she designates a checking account specifically just for paying bills. And I know one of the issues that I always ran into was thinking there was more money in there than there really was, because there's this transaction just waiting to be pulled out of my bank account that would throw me completely off balance. And so what I've done is I every paycheck, I know exactly how much I need to take out to cover that month's bill. So for me, I just divided it in 2. I was like, these are the bills that I know I have to pay every month. I take half from one check, half from the next check. And I have that automatically transferred into this special checking account that's only for bills. And so what happens is when I actually go in to pay my bills, I have the exact amount that I need in that one account, and I don't have to worry about, oh, did I accidentally go out to eat one extra time than I planned on it, and now I'm short in my account. I need to pull from savings, because that was my routine. I would overspend, and then I would need to pull from my savings account because, okay, I didn't get that quite right. I was just off. But having that special checking account there that was just for my bills, it, one, made sure the exact amount of money was always there, but also it made sure that what was in my primary checking account that I did all my other transactions out of, the money was removed, and everything that was there I knew I could use for whatever else I needed, and my bills were taken care of.
I love that. Now, Chris, let me ask you this. So do you keep these in 2 different banks? You use an online bank? What's your sort of preferred format?
Yeah, for me, I use a separate bank for this just because it's an online bank that I use because it's free. There's no fees. Where my primary bank that I use for the bulk of my other transactions, there's normally a direct deposit limit, and I knew what I was going to be paying for wasn't going to be enough to cover that actual minimum deposit I needed to have into that account. So I went with an online bank that offered a free checking account, so it made it super easy. But I don't think there's any problem keeping it all at the same bank. Just for me, it was better, and it was free to have them separated in 2 different locations.
Well, we like the word free. That's always
Yes.
good. But I do think it's good to have that clarity too. Like, although it can be more convenient to have both accounts at one bank, because I definitely have most of my accounts at one bank. But nowadays, if you set up that electronic link, it's just as easy to move funds back and forth without having them be at one place. So I love that. And let me ask you this. I always say, I love it when we work with clients, I tell clients that to have different accounts labeled for what your needs are. So let's say you have your bill paying account, right? So that's labeled, very clearly that's where the bills get paid. And then there could be one that's another account that's titled emergency fund, where that is specifically where you save for your emergency fund. And it could be, a future vacation fund, future Hawaii fund, whatever that may be, like have your accounts labeled. Do you also subscribe to that as well?
Oh, I love that. And I definitely do that. I've been doing that for years now, where I have specific savings accounts for these items that I know are going to be maybe slightly more expensive than like an everyday purchase, but I know it's going to be out in the future. So we have an account for travel. I actually have one set up to make our annual Amazon Prime payment. I have one for car maintenance, car registration, things like that. So these items that I know are going to be, more expensive than the typical payment or expense I'd have on a monthly basis. But I can take away small little chunks from my paycheck and then throw it directly into each of these accounts. And next thing I know, I turn around, 8 months later, there's, hundreds of dollars in these accounts that I'd never really felt because I'm sending maybe, $8 or $12 per paycheck into these accounts.
Sure. Yeah, it makes things so much easier. And then you're not the one that's stopping you from saving. So, Chris, let me ask you this. Do you have it done automatically, or do you manually move money to different accounts? And then the second part of the question is, people always ask, well, are there ways that I can increase sort of the return on my savings? I'd love to get your thought on that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of automating as much as I can. I used to be someone who would go in every payday and then initiate the transfers. I have a list, I have an Excel spreadsheet of this is how much I need to send every paycheck into the accounts. And what I found was it worked great for a period of time, but it was those months where maybe I was traveling or there was something going on that I was distracted and I would forget. And it would become this hassle that, midnight, I'm like, oh, I forgot to transfer the money. So I would go and hurry up and do the transfer on my phone so that way everything would clear. And for me, it was just too much of a headache. So now I just automate it. I set up bi-weekly transfers out of my main checking account into the different savings accounts that I designate for these special purposes. And in that way, I don't have to think about it at all. And for me, when it comes to thinking about like maximizing my return, that's something I'm more concerned with when it comes to investing for my future. So for my retirement savings, that's what I'm more concerned about when it comes to return. When it comes to these small like sinking funds, these accounts I use for these special purposes, or even my emergency fund. For those, I put it in what would be called a high yield savings account. Rates aren't very high right now, but definitely typically higher than your traditional banks you'll see out there. And so that's as much concern as I give to maximizing my return. Is that, okay, what safe FDIC insured savings account can I use to put these funds into that will get me, the best interest rate I can for a traditional savings account. But outside of that, I'm not planning to invest any of that money. It's there for the short term.
Exactly. I'm with you on that for sure. I think like when I think of checking and savings, I don't really think of much of a return. I think about safety and I think about liquidity, right? That ease.
Yeah.
And you're right. And then like those long-term investment pots or, purses or bags or, accounts that we have saved up in our minds. Those are where we're really looking for good long-term growth. I love this. Chris, we could talk about this all day, but I feel like now it's time because, I'm going to jump into here, Chris, just because usually I do this at the end, but I'm just going to say that I would love to have you back. This was so much fun. But right now it's time to ask you a few questions because it's time for a little bit of a speed round. What do you think?
I'm excited. I'm ready.
All right, Chris, we got 1 minute and 3 questions. So let me ask you this. Number one question would be, what would you say is the best financial decision that you made this year?
Ooh, I'd say for me, it was saving even more than I thought I was capable of saving. I thought I was doing enough, but because I wasn't going anywhere, it made it a little bit easier to push myself a little bit further. So being able to put more money away has definitely been one of the best things I've achieved during this difficult year.
You stretched your financial muscles even more. So I love that. All right, Chris, post-pandemic, what restaurant are you rushing back to dine in at and what are you ordering?
Ooh, there's this really great Taiwanese place in LA called Pine and Crane. And we've been getting takeout from there. And I haven't had a chance to actually eat in there since, I don't know, it's been over a year. And there's a wonton shrimp soup there that I'm ready to eat that actually in the restaurant and not in my car.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, Chris. I might have to check that out. All right. Third question for you. You run a very successful podcast. I'm going to ask you, what's a dream guest that if you could pick anyone, alive or who's passed, who would you want to interview on your show?
Ooh, I would say I'll make it quick. John Bogle. He sadly passed not that long ago, but he would be an amazing person to talk to about index funds and his thought process and what he's done.
Well, on that day, I think you would have to do 3 rounds of popcorn because I don't think you could do it in 1 round. We want to learn so much from John. Amazing. I love this. Thank you so much, Chris, for leading our discussion today. 2021, personal finance. We're talking about popcorn finance. And thank you always for tuning into our live stream. These conversations are so important. Open, transparent discussions about what's real. And the more we can talk about business and finance openly, the more empowering this is for all of us. So join me again tomorrow as we talk about trending and sharing real stories that you can use. Huge thank you to Chris and huge thank you to all of you for watching and supporting our program and sharing the show with those that you love. And be well. I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Take care now.